Welcome to Winning Paths, your gateway into the enthralling realm of archery. Dive deep into its theories, unravel its rich history, and bask in a wealth of experiences shared by us and our distinguished guests. This podcast is a treasure trove of all things archery, brought to life through engaging dialogues and insightful monologues. Proudly produced by the Irish Field Archery Monthly, Ireland's premier non-profit archery community magazine, our existence is a testament to the unwavering support and dedication of our listeners. If our content resonates with you, we warmly invite you to bolster our mission through a direct donation to our dedicated account. Find the link in our description. Our episodes are the culmination of thoughtful analysis, extensive research, academic endeavors, and the publication of articles and books on archery, both in Ireland and internationally. The core of our content is original, crafted from our intellectual endeavors, while any borrowed insights are duly credited, showcasing the cited authors and outlining our research methodology. Our commitment to you is unwavering, to deliver compelling, original content bi-weekly, free of charge, enriching your knowledge and passion for archery. Picture this, the 4th and 5th centuries, a time when the only thing streaming was the migration of tribes, and the Huns were the original disruptors, reshaping the late Nightmare Empire, the late Roman Empire, with their version of ride-sharing and long-distance communication. Our story begins not with a bang, but with a thunder of hooves, as the Huns galloped onto the historical stage, introducing a seismic shift in ancient office politics and causing a domino effect of migrations across the boardroom of Europe. Led by Attila, think of him as the original CEO of Conquest Inc., the Huns were not just pioneers in mobile warfare, but also in psychological operations, sowing fear and disruption with their state-of-the-art technology, the composite reflex bow. This wasn't your average startup's team-building archery event. Oh no, crafting the reflex bow was the ancient world's answer to developing the iPhone, a masterpiece of innovation, requiring months of dedication, a testament to Hunnic craftsmanship and their flair for intimidation and disruption. Imagine being on the receiving end of their product launch, as volleys of arrows with the range of a medieval missile rained down. These were not your garden-variety arrows, but iron-tipped messages of doom, capable of piercing through the toughest leather spam filters of the Roman legionaries. The Huns, expert horsemen that they were, essentially invented the first mobile platform, conducting their raids with the ease of swiping right to decimate. But it wasn't all about hardware for these nomadic warriors. Oh, they had their software updates too. Their unique saddle design allowed for 360-degree shooting. Think of it as the ancient precursor to virtual reality gaming, minus the safety of a reset button. And while Europe was still buffering the concept of stirrups, the Huns were already downloading the next level of cavalry tactics. So, fasten your seatbelts, or should I say, saddle up, as we dive into the saga of the Huns, a story of innovation, disruption, and the kind of startup culture that could make even Silicon Valley's finest quiver. This is Winning Paths, where history's mysteries meet the target of curiosity, and today we're aiming for the heart of Hunnic legacy. Stay tuned, or you might just miss the mark. The emergence of the Huns onto the historical stage in the 4th and 5th centuries indeed marked a pivotal chapter in the annals of European and Asian history. Their arrival precipitated a seismic shift in the geopolitical landscape of the late Roman Empire, triggering a domino effect of migrations and conflicts across the continent. The initial appearance of the Huns, as described by the Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus, introduced a formidable nomadic force from the eastern steppes, propelling the Germanic tribes into Roman territories and instigating a period of upheaval and transformation. This early depiction highlights the profound impact of the Huns, whose tactics and movement across the landscape sowed seeds of fear and disruption. Attila the Hun, under whose leadership the Hunnic Empire reached its apex, remains a figure of both historical and legendary magnitude. Attila's reign, characterized by ambitious military campaigns and diplomatic maneuvers, has been meticulously documented by contemporaries such as Jordanes and Priscus. Priscus, in particular, offers a unique glimpse into Hunnic society and Attila's court, providing a humanizing portrait of one of history's most enigmatic leaders through his observations of Hunnic customs and the famed banquet with Attila. The Hunnic military engagements, particularly the Battle of the Catalonian Plains, underscore the strategic prowess and resilience of the Huns in the face of formidable alliances. The accounts of this battle, preserved by Jordanes and other chroniclers, reflect the critical role of Hunnic warfare in shaping the outcome of engagements that had lasting implications for the power dynamics of the era. The influence of the Huns on the decline of the Roman Empire, as discussed by Edward Gibbon and other historians, elucidates the broader ramifications of their incursions. By exerting pressure on the Roman frontiers and instigating the movements of other tribes, the Huns contributed to the cascading series of events that would lead to the eventual fragmentation of Roman authority in the West. Modern archaeological and scholarly work continues to shed light on the Hunnic legacy, enriching our understanding of their society, military strategies, and interactions with neighboring cultures. The work of historians and archaeologists such as René Grousset and Heather Pringle provides valuable insights into the Hunnic way of life, from their burial practices to their influence on the nomadic cultures of the Eurasian steppe. The legacy of the Huns, characterized by their rapid cavalry raids and the strategic employment of psychological tactics, not only reshaped the ancient world, but also laid the groundwork for the medieval period. Their story, a complex tapestry woven from historical texts, archaeological evidence, and scholarly analysis, continues to captivate and enlighten, offering a window into the transformative forces at play in the late Roman Empire and beyond. Upon the Huns' emergence at the horizon's edge, their adversaries were often gripped by a palpable dread, a testament to the formidable reputation that preceded these nomadic warriors. This fear was not unfounded, as few could stand against the onslaught of mounted archers unleashing a deluge of arrows, each dispatched from a weapon that stands as a paragon of ancient military engineering, the composite reflex bow. This marvel of craftsmanship, undoubtedly the pinnacle of Hunnic ingenuity, served as the linchpin in their military conquests, ensuring their dominance across battlefields stretching from the Tian Shan Mountains in Central Asia to the verdant expanses of the Pannonian Plain. The genesis of such an unparalleled weapon is rooted in an intricate synthesis of labor and resources. Crafting the reflex bow was no menial task. It demanded the acumen and dexterity of a master Hunnic artisan, dedicating several months to its creation. Yet, the resultant masterpiece was a testament to the principle that the fruits of one's labor are commensurate with the effort invested. In the hands of the Hunnic archers, this weapon not only symbolized but also actualized the terror it inspired among those who found themselves in the perilous position of confronting these nomadic legions. Contrary to the assumption that a bow is merely a bow, the Hunnic composite reflex bow was distinguished by its extraordinary design and construction, as elucidated by the esteemed French historian Michel Rouche in Attila and the Huns, the expansion of barbarian nomads. The archaeological remnants of these bows, varying in length from 120 to 160 centimeters, reveal a sophisticated amalgamation of wood and bone, fortified with bone plates and bound with raffia string, leather, or fabric. This complex assembly was not merely for aesthetic appeal, but served a pivotal function in the bow's operation. The quintessence of the reflex bow's unmatched efficacy lies in its distinctive configuration. Deviating from the conventional design of round bows, which could lose their elasticity under excessive tension, the Hunnic bow was engineered with two flexibly bent arms. This design facilitated a mechanism wherein the tension was not merely sustained, but amplified, allowing for the propulsion of arrows with lethal velocity and accuracy. In dissecting the architectural nuances of the Hunnic composite reflex bow, one unveils the confluence of craftsmanship, strategic ingenuity, and an intimate understanding of material science that underscored its creation. This weapon, emblematic of the Huns' martial prowess, was not just an instrument of war, but a manifestation of their technological acumen, a tool that, when coupled with their rigorous martial discipline, carved their legacy into the annals of history. Constructed from disparate segments of wood, the Hunnic composite reflex bow exhibited a remarkable engineering feature: the diminutive span between the shaft's center and the arrow's tip perched upon the bowstring. This design nuance, coupled with the bow's asymmetry, its upper limb extending longer than the lower, afforded an unparalleled agility in operation. Such an attribute proved invaluable to the Hunnic archers, facilitating the unleashing of arrow volleys with lethal precision, whilst mounted upon their steeds. In the realm of warfare, weaponry without its corresponding munitions is rendered impotent. In this domain, the Huns stood unrivaled. The nomadic warrior's quiver, brimming with approximately 20 arrows of lengths spanning 70 to 80 centimeters, boasted arrows of exceptional aerodynamic stability and formidable penetrative prowess, as evidenced by contemporary empirical analyses. These arrows, capable of inflicting mortal wounds from distances as considerable as 50, 60 meters, and, under certain conditions, achieving ranges of 160, 175 meters, underscored the strategic advantage wielded by the Huns in engagements. Central to the Hunnic archers' lethal efficiency was their adoption of iron arrowheads featuring a tri-edged design from the mid-4th century AD onwards. These meticulously crafted arrowheads effortlessly breached the defenses of Roman leather armors, ensuring that the Huns could orchestrate their assaults from positions beyond the effective reach of their adversaries. The tactical deployment of these missile barrages often precipitated a premature withdrawal of enemy forces from the battlefield, precluding the onset of melee combat. It is within this context that Ammianus Marcellinus, in his esteemed chronicle Res Gestae, extolled the Huns for their guerrilla warfare tactics, emerging abruptly to strike with a dispersed yet potent force, engendering chaos and carnage amongst their foes. Marcellinus's portrayal of the Huns as paragons of martial prowess, adept in long-range combat through their masterful archery, elucidates their indomitable spirit on the battlefield. Beyond the reflex bow, the Huns' martial innovations extended to their equestrian equipment, notably a novel saddle design. This saddle, distinguished by its two arches, a vertical one at the front and a slanted one at the rear, affixed to a felt and skin-padded frame, enabled riders to pivot effortlessly and discharge arrows rearward without compromising their equilibrium. In an era devoid of stirrups in Europe, where the Roman cavalry relied merely on plain leather throws, the Hunnic saddle represented a significant tactical advantage, mitigating the risk of a rider being unseated during combat. The concept of stirrups, too, did not elude Hunnic innovation. Historical analyses suggest that the Huns might have employed rudimentary forms of foot support, such as leather straps or canvas bags, attached to their saddles, predating the introduction of iron stirrups to Europe by over a century, a technology that would only be brought by the Avars, another nomadic tribe from the Asian steppes. This narrative, weaving together the technological and tactical ingenuities of the Huns, paints a vivid tableau of a civilization at the zenith of its martial and inventive prowess, setting the stage for the unfolding chapters of European military evolution. The Hunnic incursions into the Roman dominion and their overarching influence on both Rome and the expanse of the Roman Empire are meticulously chronicled in a constellation of seminal historical and chronicle texts from late antiquity. These documents are indispensable for piecing together the narratives, stratagems, and repercussions of the Hunnic foray into the European theatre. Herein lies an exploration of several pivotal sources that illuminate this transformative epoch, a cornerstone in the annals of late Roman historiography. Ammianus Marcellinus's Res Gestae offers a quintessential lens through which to view the late Roman Empire and its encounters with the Huns. Ammianus casts the Huns as a formidable nomadic populace erupting from the enigmatic realms east of the Caspian Sea, delineating them with an aura of almost otherworldly ferocity and presenting a stark contrast in appearance and mores to both the Romans and the Germanic tribes. He elucidates their exceptional equestrian and archery prowess as if these skills were inextricably woven into the fabric of their being. Ammianus's narrative is pivotal for its exposition on the cascading effect of the Hunnic onslaught upon the Gothic tribes, notably the Visigoths and Ostrogoths. He articulates how the Hunnic pressure precipitated a mass migration of these tribes into the sanctum of the Roman Empire, a movement fraught with profound military and political ramifications for Rome. This displacement of the Goths, instigated by the Hunnic surge, is depicted as a watershed moment, exacerbating the fragility of the empire's frontiers. While Ammianus refrains from an exhaustive examination of the skirmishes between the Huns and the Romans during their initial encounters, his descriptions insinuate a brand of warfare characterized by its agility and predilection for rapid, predatory strikes. The Hunnic supremacy in mounted archery endowed them with the capability to beleaguer and outflank the more ponderous, albeit less agile, Roman and Germanic contingents. Furthermore, Ammianus delves into the psychological terror wielded by the Huns' martial approach and their exotic, often savage conduct of war, which engendered dread among both the Roman populace and the Germanic tribes guarding the empire's periphery. The compendium of Ammianus Marcellinus not only lays the groundwork for an enriched comprehension of the inaugural encounters between the Huns and the Roman world, but also prefaces the ensuing saga of invasion and conflict epitomized by figures such as Attila. Through his portrayal of the Huns, Ammianus furnishes invaluable perspectives on the late Roman Empire's tribulations and the dynamic shifts of power that marked ancient Europe's historical landscape. These citations from various sources further illuminate the character and influence of the Huns during this period. Moreover, these Huns, who are also called mésalliance, were not originally from our country, but from the Maeotic Sea, near the ice-bound ocean, in the region of the North Wind, and they are a race of men of small stature, quick in their movements, and with a fierce and savage countenance. For they had shaggy hair, broad faces, and little eyes. They were short in stature, but lithe and nimble in their movements, so that their swiftness seemed both a cause and a symbol of their violent temperament. Their haughty carriage, too, made them appear even taller than they were. They are for the most part naked, and they wear only a small garment of skin, which barely covers their private parts, and they have no other weapon than a small bow and arrows or a short sword. And when they had taken what they could find, they marched on, swift as the wind, and, having traversed marshes and streams, forests and mountains, they came down on various places like thunderbolts, plundering and laying waste everything that came in their way. In their greed and violence, the Huns would break open the burial places of the dead, and if they found a small quantity of gold or silver, they thought themselves rich. They treated the Romans who fell into their hands with such cruelty and barbarity that they would put them to the most ignominious deaths, either flaying them alive or hanging them up by their feet, or burying them up to their necks in the ground, and then shooting arrows at them till they expired. They were very skillful in throwing the lasso, by which they would catch wild beasts of every kind, and they would follow their prey with so much cunning and perseverance that they were sure to overtake it. In battle they would charge with such impetuosity that they seemed to be borne along on the wings of the wind, and when they had once engaged the enemy, they would fight with such fury and desperation that nothing could resist them. For the Huns, who were then beginning to be known to fame, were more than any other race at that time a terror to the peoples of the East, as well as to those of the West, and they were continually making incursions into the Roman territories, plundering and laying waste the country, and carrying off the inhabitants into captivity. Jordanes, a 6th century Roman bureaucrat of Gothic descent, wrote Getica, a work that offers one of the fullest accounts of the Gothic wars, including significant detail on the Hunnic invasions and their leaders, especially Attila. His narrative covers the Battle of the Catalonian Plains, also known as the Battle of Chalons, one of the largest military confrontations between Roman allied forces and the Huns under Attila's command. The Huns, a people of a ferocious and savage nature, who dwell beyond the Maeotic Sea near the frozen ocean, and are divided from the Goths by immense swamps and rivers. The Huns are a race whom rumor has branded with monstrous deformity. At any rate, they are so little like the rest of mankind in their figures and countenances that the human race seems to have been divided into two separate species. They are reported to have no proper language of their own, but to use only that which is mixed with various barbarous dialects. They inhabit the eastern part of Maesia, the Danube being between them and the Goths. Then came the fierce tribe of the Huns from the nation of the Massagetæ, who are also called Huns, and who overwhelmed the Alani, their neighbors, with a sudden onslaught and destroyed them. This was the beginning of woes to all who dwelt near them, for they, emboldened by the lack of opposition, the Huns, too, quickly began to seek plunder on this side of the Maeotic Sea, as if no one were left in the whole world to withstand them. These Huns, like vultures, or rather like swift robbers, with a sudden raid plundered flourishing cities, tearing away from the edges of their mouths the newborn babes of their wretched mothers, and snatching them up with their tiny hands. They destroyed, they trod underfoot the vines and orchards newly planted, for they were mere boys who knew not yet how to fight for their country, their land, and their children. The Goths, turning from their previous raids, betook themselves to the land of the Huns in order to subdue their fierce neighbors. But when they were about to join battle with the Huns, they saw how great was the multitude of their foes, and were dismayed, fearing lest the few should be destroyed by the many. They withdrew from the plain, and retired to the hilltops, where they shut themselves up in strongholds, surrounded by craggy precipices. When Attila, king of the Huns, had become master of so many races and kingdoms, he feared that he might lose his life because of the plots which he knew were often formed against him by his subjects. So he took a wife, the bravest woman of the Alani, named Ildiko, and resolved to dissolve his kingdom by death. Procopius, History of the Wars. For they are very skillful in throwing the lasso, and no man can surpass them in the use of the bow and arrow. They can hit a mark at such a distance as to make the skill of the Persian and Median archers seem quite insignificant in comparison. Priscus of Panium, fragment on the embassy to Attila. The Huns are exceedingly skilled in the use of the bow. They can hit any target, no matter how small, with unerring accuracy. Their archery is renowned throughout the land, and they rely heavily on it in battle. In venturing forward into the expanse of history, I find myself leaping across centuries. This journey, though audacious and perhaps teetering on the edge of scholarly irreverence, intrigues me. Here, in the realm of a podcast, rather than the stringent confines of a PhD dissertation, I grant myself the liberty to wander through the annals of time. This exploration for some might seem a mere quibble, yet for others it is a matter deeply imbued with seriousness, akin to defending one's very independence. So, let me proceed to the heart of the matter. I have always been fascinated by the claim that Hungarians are descendants of the Huns. This connection, steeped in the lore and narratives of our culture, posits a lineage linking us back to those ancient nomads. It's an assertion that captures the imagination, resting not on the concrete evidence of genealogy, but on a rich tapestry of historical accounts and cultural narratives. The Huns, with their nomadic roots stretching back to Central Asia, made their indelible mark upon the European landscape in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. Their military prowess, particularly in horsemanship and archery, is legendary, but their impact goes beyond mere conquest. The Huns played a pivotal role in the decline of the Roman Empire and shaped the destinies of various peoples across Europe, from Germanic tribes to Slavic communities. This interaction heralded a period of immense change, a testament to the fluidity of civilizations and the enduring legacy of the Huns in our collective memory. As I delve into this narrative, it's not just a historical inquiry, but a personal quest to understand the intricate weave of ancestry and identity. The Magyars, arriving in the Carpathian Basin in the late 9th century AD, and known today as Hungarians, embarked on a transformative journey under the guidance of their chieftain, Arpad. Originating from the Ural Mountains region of Central Asia, this Finno-Ugric people found themselves in a new land that would come to bear their name. Despite the clear linguistic and cultural differences separating them from the ancient Huns, a narrative emerged among the Hungarians, claiming descent from these formidable nomads. This belief in a Hunnic lineage is often seen as a deliberate effort to forge a connection with the storied past of the Huns, perhaps to lend a sense of continuity, legitimacy, and prestige to the nascent Hungarian nation. The debate among historians and scholars regarding the extent of direct, genetic, or cultural continuity between the Huns and the Hungarians highlights the complexity of this claim. The similarities between these two groups, however, are notable. Both the Huns and the Hungarians were distinguished by their nomadic lifestyles, exceptional equestrian skills, and military prowess, particularly in terms of cavalry warfare. Their impacts on the history and geopolitical fabric of Eastern Europe were profound, shaping the region in lasting ways. Cultural parallels also exist, with some Hungarian traditions and customs possibly reflecting the influence of a broader nomadic heritage shared with the Huns. Yet, discerning which aspects of Hungarian culture are indigenous and which may have been influenced by the Huns or other Central Asian nomads is a nuanced and challenging task. While the notion of a Hunnic connection has been embraced within Hungarian national identity, the exact nature and degree of this connection remain subjects of ongoing interpretation and scholarly investigation. This intriguing aspect of Hungarian history underscores the complexity of national identity and the ways in which historical narratives are constructed and embraced. The Magyars, who burst onto the European stage in the 9th century, have been enveloped in a miasma of legend and historical intrigue, often characterized by tales of their ferocity and unconventional customs. This narrative has seeped into the annals of history, painting them as figures of dread and fascination. Their arrival in Central Europe is not merely a tale of migration, but a complex saga of strategic ingenuity and alleged brutality that left an indelible imprint on the socio-cultural fabric of the continent. The initial interactions of the Magyars with the established powers of Europe, particularly with the sovereign of Great Moravia, illustrate their adept use of diplomacy intertwined with strategic cunning. The exchange of gifts, which included a variety of animals and human beings, alongside modest requests for water and flora, ostensibly symbolized peaceful intentions. Yet, beneath this veneer of amicability, lay a calculated scheme to gain a foothold in the region. This maneuvering set the stage for their subsequent territorial expansions, which were achieved not through overt violence, but through a measured application of force and diplomacy. The transformation of the European landscape in response to the Magyar incursions, including the accelerated fortification efforts against the backdrop of Viking raids, reflects the profound impact of their presence. Their military campaigns, marked by swift raids and retreats, induced a climate of fear and uncertainty across the continent. Accounts of their interactions with captives, as chronicled by a Benedictine monk from St. Gallen, provide a vivid, albeit subjective, glimpse into the Magyar way of life. These narratives, replete with scenes of unexpected revelry and merciful reprieves from violence, complicate the image of the Magyars as mere marauders. Instead, they emerge as a people capable of both ruthlessness and unexpected leniency, their actions dictated by circumstances and opportunity. The portrayal of the Magyars consuming enemy progeny and leading bestial lifestyles likely stems from the fear and misunderstanding that characterized the European perception of these others. Such accounts, while sensational, underscore the profound cultural and psychological impact of the Magyar presence in Europe. The resulting depictions in religious and secular texts of the time reflect not only the physical threat posed by the Magyars, but also the existential challenge they represented to the established order. Understanding the Magyars' legacy requires a nuanced examination of the sources, recognizing the blend of myth and reality that shapes our perception of their role in European history. Their emergence in the 9th century as a formidable force challenges us to consider the interplay of legend, historical fact, and the enduring legacy of cultural encounters in shaping the narrative of the past. The intense response of German rulers to the Hungarian incursion, epitomized by Otto I's decisive mobilization, underscores the existential threat perceived by the European powers of the time. The Battle of Lech Field, fought near the Lech River on August 10, 955, represents a watershed moment in medieval European history. The resounding defeat of the Magyars at this battle significantly curtailed their influence across the continent and marked the beginning of their containment within the established borders of Otto III's realm. This military victory is more than a mere footnote in history. It symbolizes the end of the Magyars' widespread marauding campaigns, a turning point further emphasized by their subsequent defeat at the hands of the Eastern Roman Empire. The crowning of Otto I as Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire in 962 can be viewed as a direct consequence of this triumph, highlighting the far-reaching implications of the Battle of Lech Field on European geopolitics. Before their military setbacks, the Hungarians were the scourge of Europe, launching relentless campaigns that sowed terror across the continent. Their raids, stretching into Italy, the territories of present-day Germany, southern France, and the Rus lands, are well documented in historical texts. Chronicles from the era, including those by Widukind of Corvey, lament the destruction and bloodshed wrought by the Hungarians, painting a vivid picture of their capacity for destruction. The narrative that emerged from these accounts portrayed the Magyars as almost mythic adversaries, characterized by a ferocity and bloodlust that captivated and horrified contemporaneous observers. Such depictions, while part of the broader tapestry of medieval historiography, contributed to a legacy that has often overshadowed the complexities of Magyar society and military strategy. The transformation of these narratives over time, from the initial reports of raids to their literary codification in works like the Song of Roland, reflects the enduring fascination with and fear of the Magyars. Yet, as scholars like Idzi Panik of the University of Silesia have pointed out, the portrayal of the Hungarians as mere savages engaged in indiscriminate violence is a simplistic interpretation that does not fully accord with the historical record. Contemporary research, enriched by a plethora of studies and dissertations, challenges the conventional depiction of the Magyars. This body of work suggests that while the Magyars were undoubtedly formidable opponents, their conduct in warfare was not fundamentally different from that of other contemporary European powers. The narrative of them as barbaric invaders has been nuanced by evidence suggesting that their military operations, though aggressive, were within the norms of the period's warfare. Thus, the historical portrayal of the Hungarians reflects not only the realities of their military campaigns, but also the perceptions and biases of those who recorded their deeds. This evolving understanding underscores the importance of critical engagement with historical sources and the need to appreciate the multifaceted nature of past events and peoples. The scholarly work of Idzi Panik and the insights provided by Professor Christopher Szabo in his article, The Magyar Raids, Fact and Fable, have significantly contributed to a nuanced understanding of the Magyar presence in Europe during their epoch of expansion. Their research highlights aspects of Magyar conduct that diverge from the traditional narrative of unbridled aggression, pointing out, for example, the Magyars' respect for the territories of their allies and suggesting a more complex interplay of alliances and diplomacy than previously acknowledged. Panik's revisionist perspective, in particular, challenges the long-standing view of the Magyars as invasive forces, positing instead that their arrival in eastern Pannonia was at the behest of the great Moravian rulers. This theory proposes a scenario in which the Magyars were initially settled in a manner that was, at least ostensibly, peaceful, a stark contrast to the narratives of marauding bands sweeping across Europe. The linkage between the Magyars and the Huns, fostered not only by geographical proximity, but also by a constructed lineage that saw Hungarian monarchs styling themselves as heirs to Attila, has undoubtedly influenced perceptions of the Magyars. This association, imbued with the dark shadow of Hunnic invasions from centuries past, has colored historical and contemporary views of the Magyars, casting them in a light similar to that of their purported ancestors. János Boldényi's 19th century commentary on the physical and cultural characteristics attributed to the Magyars serves as a telling example of how perceptions were shaped by historical prejudices and the recounting of past chroniclers. The descriptions of the Magyars, laden with derogatory implications about their physical appearance and mannerisms, reflect more the biases of the observers than an objective account of reality. The narrative that ties the Magyars to the Huns, and further back to the Goths, through a tale of exiled witches, showcases the complexity of medieval identity construction. These accounts, blending history with myth, have framed the Magyars in a light that is both fascinating and pejorative. The evolution of the discourse surrounding the Magyars, from medieval chronicles filled with disdain and fear to modern scholarly research seeking to untangle fact from fable, illustrates the dynamic nature of historical interpretation. The Finno-Ugric hypothesis, which emerged in the 18th century and posits a linguistic and cultural lineage distinct from that of the Huns, further complicates the understanding of Magyar origins, underscoring the interdisciplinary effort required to fully grasp the legacy of this enigmatic people. As scholarship progresses, the image of the Magyars continues to be refined, moving away from caricatured depictions towards a more balanced understanding that appreciates the complexities of their history and their impact on the European landscape. This journey from myth to a more nuanced reality reflects the broader endeavor of historical scholarship to discern the truths embedded within the tapestry of human history. The Magyars' strategic embrace of their purported Hunnic lineage, particularly during the Middle Ages, underscores the fluidity with which historical identities can be constructed and manipulated for geopolitical advantage. By not repudiating the rumors of their infamous ancestry, but rather exploiting them, the Magyars were able to craft a narrative that legitimized their dominion over newly acquired territories. This phenomenon illustrates the complex interplay between historical narrative and geopolitical maneuvering, where the construction of identity serves not just as a matter of cultural heritage, but as a tool in the service of statecraft. The 12th century Gesta Hungarorum, positioning Attila the Hun as a direct ancestor of Arpad, the revered founder of the Hungarian state, exemplifies this strategy. By invoking a genealogical link to such a towering figure of ancient history, the Magyars framed their settlement in eastern Pannonia not as an invasion, but as a rightful return to an ancestral homeland. This reimagining of Attila, shifting focus to his virtues, enabled the fostering of a collective identity that was both proud and distinct from the less flattering aspects of their past. The introduction of the Finno-Ugric hypothesis, which suggested a linguistic and cultural lineage distinct from the valorous tales of Attila, sparked significant resistance among Hungarians. This resistance reflects the deep embedding of national narratives in the consciousness of a people, where proposed alterations to these narratives are met with skepticism or outright rejection, especially when such changes seem to undermine the grandeur of established historical myths. The nuanced dance between leveraging historical myths and confronting archaeological and linguistic realities reveals the complexities of national identity formation. The Magyars, by aligning themselves with the legacy of Attila and an illustrious Oriental culture, navigated the potential disparagement associated with their actual pastoral and nomadic origins. This choice reflects a broader historical and socio-political strategy to maintain a dignified and formidable national identity in the face of external and internal challenges. The Magyars' military exploits, reaching as far as the Iberian Peninsula, alongside their sophisticated societal structures, as evidenced by archaeological findings, paint a picture of a people far more complex than the monolithic portrayals of nomadic warriors might suggest. The interactions with the Byzantine Empire, detailed in texts like the De Administrando Imperio, further attest to the Magyars' significance in the geopolitical and military dynamics of the time. These diplomatic engagements between the Byzantines and the Magyars highlight the latter's strategic importance and the recognition of their capabilities by one of the era's most powerful empires. In synthesizing these diverse historical threads, the Magyar narrative emerges as a rich tapestry, woven from strands of military prowess, strategic geopolitical engagements, and a deep-seated engagement with their constructed identity. This narrative, while grounded in the realities of their time, has been shaped and reshaped by successive generations, reflecting the enduring power of history to define, refine, and sometimes redefine the essence of a people. Linguistic studies have indeed opened new avenues in understanding the complex origins and migrations of the Magyars. The Finno-Ugric hypothesis, which suggests a linguistic and cultural connection between the Magyars and various peoples of the Finno-Ugric language family, significantly reshapes our understanding of their place in the broader Eurasian history. The work of scholars like Matthias Castren has been instrumental in tracing these linguistic lineages, adding depth to the historiography of the Magyars by highlighting their connections to a wider linguistic community stretching across Eurasia. The martial aspects of Magyar history, while prominent, represent only one facet of their rich cultural heritage. The equestrian traditions of the Magyars, particularly those honed on the Hungarian plain, are central to understanding their way of life and military tactics. These horsemen, adept in the skills of nomadic warfare, were not just warriors, but also bearers of a sophisticated understanding of mobility, strategy, and the bond between rider and steed. This deep-rooted equestrian culture is a testament to the significant role horses played in the societal and military fabric of Magyar life. The conversion to Christianity in the 10th century marked a pivotal point in Magyar history, with the admonitions of St. Stephen laying down the ideological and spiritual foundations for a Christian Hungarian kingdom. This transition from pagan beliefs to Christianity not only altered the spiritual landscape, but also had lasting effects on the socio-political structure of the Magyar society, weaving the newly adopted religion into the very identity of the Hungarian nation. The Magyars' interactions with Turkic peoples highlight another layer of their complex heritage. As the Magyars migrated into Europe, their path was marked by encounters with various Turkic groups, leading to a rich tapestry of cultural and linguistic exchange. This exchange is evident in the Magyar language and cultural practices, pointing to a period of significant interaction that influenced the development of Magyar society. The exploration of these aspects, linguistic roots, equestrian culture, religious transformation, and Turkic interactions, enriches our understanding of the Magyars beyond their reputation as fearsome warriors. It underscores the diversity of influences that shaped their society, from the plains of Central Asia to the heart of Europe. By examining these less highlighted areas of Magyar history, we gain a more nuanced picture of their legacy, one that encompasses not just their martial achievements, but also their contributions to the cultural, linguistic, and spiritual mosaic of medieval Europe. This comprehensive view of the Magyars invites a deeper appreciation of their role in shaping the historical and cultural landscape of the continent. And just like that, our archery-themed odyssey through the annals of Hunnic history draws to a close, much like an arrow gracefully arcing towards its target. We've galloped across the steppes with the Huns, stood at the ready with Attila at the Catalonian plains, and even peeked into the quivers of history to marvel at the precision engineering of the composite reflex bow. But what, you might ask, does this all have to do with us? Here's the quirkily profound bit. History, much like archery, is about drawing connections. Every arrow of inquiry we knock on the bowstring of curiosity sends us soaring through the complexities of the past, teaching us more about our trajectory towards the future. The Huns, with their innovative tactics and unparalleled mobility, remind us that sometimes, to hit the mark in our passions and projects, we too need to think outside the box, or the quiver, as it were. In our everyday lives, we're all archers in our own right, aiming for goals and dreams with the arrows of our efforts. And just as the Hunnic archers adapted their strategies to overcome challenges, we learned that flexibility, innovation, and a dash of audacity can lead to surprising victories. So, the next time you find yourself stringing the bow of ambition, remember the Huns, not just as fearsome warriors of yore, but as historical proof that with the right blend of skill, innovation, and a bit of unconventional thinking, even the most formidable targets can be reached. And who knows, perhaps, like the composite reflex bow in the hands of a Hun, your passions too will become the stuff of legend. As we sheath our metaphorical swords and unstring our bows, let's carry forward the reminder that history isn't just a tale of what's come before. It's a treasure trove of insights, a guidebook for tackling the present, and a beacon illuminating the path to the future. After all, those who master the art of looking back are often the best equipped to shoot forward. Here's to aiming high, drawing deep, and releasing your potential into the vast skies of possibility. Farewell, fellow archers of life, until our paths cross again in the annals of time and podcasting.